Hello, everybody. Welcome to my microtalk. This is thank you to Garrett for approving this Funomena microtalk. I hope you all enjoy. So today we're going to talk about Gex. It's going to be tail time shortly. Just a note, every single time you see a little dialogue bubble like this, these are direct quotes from the game that the actual Gecko in the game says with his real human voice. So I did not write any of these. These are all 100% pulled from the actual video games, even though I really did want to write more new ones. So I'm Izzy, in case you didn't know. There's a couple facts you should know about me. I like video games, including Gex for some reason. I love to do PowerPoints. They're very fun. I did stand-up comedy once before the pandemic, and people laughed at most of my jokes. And since I never had a chance to go again and get booed off the stage or anything, now I just think I'm funny. So we're here. I also love to commit to a bit. So the moment that Garrett was like, "Gex microtalk approved," I'm like, "Well, I'm going to do the microtalk then." Like it's past being a joke now; it's actually going to happen. So I hope this is a lesson for everyone that you cannot joke around with me because I will take it seriously and I will follow it through. And lastly, I know everything that you probably don't really need to know about Gex. So who is Gex and why should you care? Gex is an anthropomorphic gecko. He was originally created by Lyle Hall in 1993 with the intent of being, quote, the coolest character I could come up with to rival other mascots like Mario and Sonic. He's voiced by comedian Dana Gould with some different voice actors in the UK. And Gex, the video game, was a 2D platformer originally released for the the Panasonic 3DO interactive multiplayer system, which is this weird little box here. And probably no one knows what that is except for maybe Jason. But he was kind of a flagship game, I think, for that system. And then later he became the mascot for the developer, which created him, Crystal Dynamics. So why do I care specifically about Gex? My grandpa bought a 3DO when it came out. It was $700 that he paid for it, and he was convinced that it was going to be the next big thing. It wasn't, obviously, but you know, now we're here. So at least some good came of it. And also just like Gex's whole thing is just kind of like weird referential like pop culture humor. And I think being a kid and playing a game like this, and he's going on about like all these celebrities that I don't know, and like all this weird like, you know, semi-adult humor. I'm just like, what does any of this mean? And I find that like really fascinating. And then when I got older, it's just like so dated now. It's like I don't know any of these references. I'm not as an adult. Like some of them I get more, but also a lot of them are just like stuck in the 90s where they belong. And then finally, I just want to share a fond memory that I have, and that is reading the manual for a rental of Gex 2 in the Dubuque, Iowa Olive Garden parking lot. So that's like a childhood memory that's really precious to me that me and Gex shared together.
Eon Flux on MTV is brought to you by Gex from Crystal Dynamics, now on PlayStation and Sega Saturn.
We've taken performance to a higher level.
Lock and load, little lizard!
Where speed and control come together.
Shields up, Captain.
In perfect balance.
Plane up, aisle 6.
So that is commercial for Gex 1, which came out in 1995. And the plot of this game is that Gex inherits a lot of money from his uncle. And he decides to buy a house in Hawaii and just sit and watch TV all day because that's apparently what he likes to do with his life. And a fun fact about some backstory, I don't think they really go into very deeply in the first game. The reason that Gex is so into TV is actually he was using it to deal with the grief of losing his father, who worked at NASA. and died in a rocket ship explosion. So that's kind of how Gex got on the path of being a TV-obsessed freak. So this game came out on the 3DO, as I mentioned, and also the PlayStation 1, and then the Sega Saturn and the PC. And I did link in the Slack that you can get Gex 1 for the PC for about $1.50 right now. So that's a lot of value right there. If it will even run on a modern computer, I don't know if it will. I haven't tried. And I think I'm just going to play a couple of. This is about 20 seconds of this video, which is has a full runtime of 12 minutes, and it's going to feel like a long time, but it's really only 20 seconds of every single quote of that Gex says in this game.
My name is Forrest Gex. We can rebuild him. Stronger, faster. Okay, where's the can? Excuse me. I'm sorry. Excuse me. Pardon me. Spock, to the transporter room. To the Batcave, old chum. I'm only running from my problems. Whoop, 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 whoop. Hello, cutie. You again? Looks like someone had too much chili at Wendy's. Nice teeth. And do we floss? What are you, a student loan officer?
So that's just a little taste of kind of what you might expect playing a Gex game. Obviously, with a little less, a little more pause between those lines. He's not constantly talking, but he's kind of basically constantly talking, just not quite that quickly. So after Gex 1, I forgot also, I wanted to point out the Japanese cover art for Gex, which is really just amazing, and I think goes in kind of a different direction than the American art does. But after Gex, we have a sequel because Gex was obviously so wildly popular that he warranted a follow-up.
Hello?
Hi,
Who is this?
you watching TV?
Maybe. Who is this?
What kind?
Well, it's big.
27-inch?
Yeah?
Picture in
I
picture?
guess so.
Swivel base?
How'd you know?
Under a white ceramic duck wearing a yellow raincoat?
Where are you?
Open the drapes.
One TV-obsessed Gecko. Revolutionary 3D graphics. Free roaming gameplay. It's Gex. Enter the Gecko.
It's tail time.
So that's wonderful. So now we have Gex, Enter the Gecko, or Gex 64 if you played it on the Nintendo 64. This came out in 1998, and it was also released on PC, I guess, but of course, with games being the way that they are, you can't buy it in any legal form today. It also came out on the Game Boy Color, but because you can't really do voice on a Game Boy, there were no one-liners, so it's like, what's even the point?
In a land before time, when Saturday Night Live was funny. Wilma! Ooh, that's how it starts. Then there's running and screaming and power-ups. Marshall, Will, and Holly on a routine expedition. Welcome to Jurassic Park. Keep your eyes peeled for slee stacks and bad special effects. Add 1 million.
So another little taste for you, you know. And again, this video probably is like 25 minutes, so just a little treat, you know. And then also, I just have to put out the amazing work that they are doing in Japan on this cover art. I guess my understanding is actually in Japan, they called this game Spin Tail because Gex likes to do a little spinning attack with his tail. And also, I think the character's name is not Gex, his name is Reno, which I think is very fitting for his whole vibe here. So in 1999, we have Gex 3, Deep Cover Gecko. And the big kind of selling point of this game is that they gave Gex a female assistant who is a real human woman. This is a Playboy model, Marlise Andrada. And it's really something. They also kind of doubled down. You'll notice the Gecko Chop baby. This is really when Austin Powers is really like hitting its peak. And he just does a lot of Austin Powers bits, and all the ad campaign stuff was pretty squarely in that camp too. You'll notice I didn't include a video commercial this time because they just didn't meet my high quality standards for humor or for HD quality. So I was just like, that's better. You don't need more of that. I also didn't include any Gex quotes this time because I figured you probably needed a break after the first two, but also I didn't really play this game that much, and I don't care as much about it as the second one. That's just my bias, I guess. I also wanted to include a link to this ad. It is, I had a lot of internal debate about whether or not to just present it on the screen as a thing that you could look at. It is not safe for work, in my opinion, but in the 90s, they did print this in a magazine for children to look at. So if you would like to visit that link, you are welcome to. But I take no responsibility for the imagery. So Gex 4 was canceled, doesn't exist. It's not a real game. It was planned for PlayStation 2. All that exists, all that we have to remember it by is this cover art here, this concept art. And you can go to that link for more information, which is basically just a link to these two images. And that's about it. So a lot of potential here. You can see big sweeping landscapes, probably like Breath of the Wild scale. I'm assuming probably just amazing. Would have been really just a powerhouse of a game, but never happened. So I wanted to share some selected Gex facts. There are many, but a lot of them you can find on at Gex Media on Twitter. It's a fan account that deals almost exclusively in Gex facts. So if you want more, you can go check that out. Credit. But just a couple that I thought were interesting. There are over 700 voiceovers recorded by Dana Gould for Gex 2, but most of them were cut for the Nintendo 64 version because cartridges cannot hold as much data as a disc. So that's unfortunate. Gex has also made a cameo appearance in Hot Shots Golf 2, which I really love this GIF of him kind of celebrating his win here. And then also Mad Dash Racing, which I could not find any good screenshots or GIFs for this game. So I did find a YouTube video and I recorded this one myself. I just want a little credit for that because that's how much I was devoted to this cause. I really wanted you to see him running his little legs off in this weird Xbox game. And also, they were going to make a Gex movie at one point, and this is a pretty new fact for me. I learned about this from at Gex Media a couple weeks ago, and it shook my world. I think that we would not be talking about Shrek as much as we do today if Gex had been on the scene and kind of, you know, been the big weird green guy of the early 2000s for us. So, what is the future of Gex? I know everyone is clamoring to know what I think. What I know is in the future for Gex, and what I think the future of Gex may hold. So, just a little bit more background, kind of what happened after his last release with Gex 3. Crystal Dynamics was acquired by Eidos in 1998, which was in turn acquired by Square Enix in 2009. Despite this fact, Gex has never appeared in a Kingdom Hearts game, which I think is criminal. I hope that changes in the future. Maybe we can like start some petitions or something. In 2015, Square Enix launched this collective program, which allowed indie developers to pitch ideas for old properties, including Gex. The other IPs that they put up on the shopping block were Fear Effect and Anachronox. And I think to date, like 7 years later, we've only seen a new Fear Effect game, and it was bad. So I don't really know how that program's going. I think they also do like indie games too. It's not just these 3 old franchises that no one cares about, but pretty interesting. The biggest news maybe that I want to share, and probably the reason that this talk is even happening, because I probably found out about this the day that I was like, hey, Gex microtalk. On December 15th of last year, a trademark was filed for Gex in Europe. What does that mean? Probably nothing, but it could be an HD collection, or it could be Gex 4, who knows? And then finally today on February 15th, for a brief, beautiful, fleeting second, y'all were forced to acknowledge Gex and know who he is as a person and a Gecko. And I'm sorry about that, but it's, you know, this is where we're at. So I know you're probably all wondering, and this maybe we'll have more questions about this afterwards, but I just want to get out ahead of it. What do I think Gex's future should be? Because obviously I have a lot of opinions. I have a very strong, he resonates with me as a character, you know. I also like watching TV and pop culture references. Uh, my dad didn't die in a NASA accident, so that's a little bit different, but you know, we have a lot of similarities, and I connect with him so much, and I want him to find a home and a future. So what have we left at the table by not revisiting Gex? You know, I have been a long pulling for a Gex sequel. Um, I think 2012, this is the earliest recorded uh, tweet from me about Gex. There are many of them, but this is the earliest one, I believe. Of course, I've been banging this pot for a long time before that. Um, and in 2013, famously, Joel McHale from Community fame, I think is probably what a lot of people know him from at this point. He hosted the Video Game Awards, and I tweeted at him to ask Crystal Dynamics when they were on stage showing off like Lara Croft, Tomb Raider, whatever, if he had any clue about when Gex 4 would come out. And he didn't get back to me. I know he's just busy, so that's fine. So obviously Joel McHale is going to voice him. That's a given. Also, Gex would probably vape on his idle animations. That just seems to make sense for the character. He'd probably say things like Bazinga. That seems like a thing that Gex would say for sure. Um, and I just wanted to like include this amazing fan art that someone made just to kind of like show you like, hey, there's an audience for this, right? Like other people, it's not just me and everyone in this room. A lot of people want Gex back and they believe in him and the good that he can bring back to the world. You know, I thought maybe at one point, like, what if Telltale, when Telltale was still kind of a thing, they're a little bit different now. I don't know really what their deal is, but what if they bought up the Gex property and made like a, you know, edgy point and click adventure like Fables? That could be cool. What if it was like Resident Evil 3 and it was just Tomb Raider basically, but you are running from Gex. He's like a big scary creature like Nemesis, and he's just saying one-liners as he stomps down the hallway. And it's a horror game. That'd be pretty cool, right? There's a lot of directions you can take this. Um, and you know, I have just notebooks upon notebooks, just all over the place, all over my desk, scattered, of like, you know, potential one-liners. Yes, there's so many good ones that could be today. He obviously he's seen Breaking Bad at this point, so like when he starts to level, he turn to the camera and be like, "I'm the one who knocks." That's like a that's a softball. I think that's obviously low-hanging fruit. You know, he's super into crypto, doesn't know what it is at all, but he's spent all of his money on it. And he's posted an apology video on his YouTube for sure. That's just kind of the kind of guy that he is. Um, but you know, I just want to start a conversation here and like ask like, do we have connections to Square Enix? Like, what could we do personally as a studio to make X4 happen? Could we make X4, right? You already have the world's leading expert, me, and I also own the novelization of the first three Gex games, which is basically like, you know, like the lore Bible that kind of ties all the narrative stuff together. We have reference material. And this hasn't arrived yet, but for the artists, right, we've got how to draw Gex. That's in the mail. I'll have it next week probably. So like we have everything we need basically. This could be us. And I just want to kind of like really, you know, I've put out some ideas, I've floated some things. I really want to paint the picture for you and kind of just show this really quick mock-up that I made. So this is Gex of War. And my thought is like, you know, God of War was pretty big, that reboot. Gex could have a sweet reboot too. There's this kind of trend of like the dadification of video games where like, you know, all the developers are getting older, they're having kids, and they make some games about getting older and having kids and being dads and the hardships of being a dad. Uh, why not Gex, right? Like he's older now. He could be a dad. He could have a big beard or something. And like maybe we just have Gex Jr. and Gex Jr. is like super into super into memes and the internet and like knows how to use a smartphone. And Gex is still like on cable TV. Like he doesn't know how to work his TiVo. You know, he's like really struggling. And maybe Gex Jr. gets sucked into the internet and Gex Senior has to go save him, or vice versa. And there's like this beautiful story about like a child teaching their father how to use technology. I think that could really resonate in these times. So, just things to think about, right? There's money in this Gecko. Here's another sweet little fact from Gex Facts. Gex has outsold as of 2020. So I don't know if this has changed at all, but as of 2020, Gex has sold more copies than Persona series, which is a pretty popular video game series, but not as popular as Gex. So this briefcase of money could be ours. So that's all I have to say for now. I want everyone to think about Gex a lot this week. This is Gex week. I've officially declared it. And, keep him in your thoughts and prayers. I know that maybe there's not anything that we can do personally. I hope that there is. If anyone wants to talk about it more, I'm happy to discuss further ideas about a potential Gex 4. But otherwise, I just want to leave you with these credits about some different things that were very helpful for me for putting this presentation together. And I will now take questions if anyone has questions. Thank you.